All right, let's do it live on a Thursday edition of Clear the Browns Daily. I am merely Bo. Oh, baby. He is the great Z. He has returned from a sun-kissed paradise.
It really was.
The greatest nectars in the world at your disposal.
Yeah, some good juice.
One thing I did notice, and it was I was the great documentarian, Miss Kay. I was noticing that, and it's so funny because it was the exact same experience that we had out there, was by the time you get to dinner, you go cocktail.
Yeah.
Because you've had so damn much wine.
You're done.
You're done.
And then every night, there's a point in the night where you're like, I don't know that I can have any more wine. And then somehow the magic of getting to the vineyard at 11:30 in the morning, you're able to summon the strength to go for another day. The one thing, so flying east to west,
all right,
I find it's hard to get right back on clock in the situations where
east to west,
flying east to west. So from here to California,
sure,
3-hour time difference.
Mm-hmm.
If I had a 10 a.m. flight here that got in at noon,
yeah,
I think it'd be no problem. I'd stay up till midnight easy the first night, and then boom, you're right on clock.
Sure.
When you have to take a 6 a.m. flight, so you're leaving at 4, you're up at 3 something in the morning, which really is midnight there.
When you're leaving here,
at
6 a.m.
Yes.
Okay, and you're going
to California.
Continue.
I think it's hard. You basically ultimately have to end up staying up 24 straight hours. Now, that's something you can do in Vegas because there's a lot going on, but to just go and visit your dad and then stay, it was hard to get to midnight. It was hard for us to ever get to midnight.
Why were you trying?
Because then I feel like then I'm on clock. Go to bed at midnight.
You go to bed at midnight.
11 to midnight, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess what I would just have done is I just would have gone to bed at 10
that's what
o'clock,
happened.
which is fine.
Yeah, it was fine.
It's actually great.
Turned out to be, we were.
And then you're ready to go,
yeah,
and you're
7, like up and at 'em at 7 a.m. every day. It was great.
The far harder thing with the children is coming this way.
Well, yeah, come back on a red eyes.
That's the choice you made there. I made that choice. It's dicey, but you do it because you get another full day, and this is the way, and you talk yourself into it. How bad can it be?
And it was great. I mean, we that extra day was great. And listen, off the red eye ended up playing one of the better golf rounds of the year.
Not surprised.
So I was maybe that's what I needed to just kind of jar me up a little bit. But yeah, it was great. I definitely.
What would you say is the perfect flight west? Because 6 a.m. is.
I hate it.
And out of here, all you get is 6 a.m. That's all there is anymore is 6 a.m. It's awful.
9:30 or 10 departure.
Yeah.
Land around noon. You get lunch. You still get the full day out there, but you're not.
You're not in this. Yeah. You don't.
What do I need to land in San Francisco at 8:25 in the morning for?
We, sir.
What are we going to do?
We, sir, have a broken airport. That's the reality.
Yeah.
There was a time, many years ago.
It was a hub.
When this was a hub, and that you could fly out of here anywhere, and you had a bunch of options. Those are the days in the long past rearview mirror, and now. You are so limited.
Oh yeah,
with getting out, and if you're not on that 6 a.m. flight,
I don't know if they fly out at any other time of the day.
I think that's it. I think
like
between
every
6 and
flight
7.
flies at 6 or 7.
Unless you're going direct. Like if you go direct, like over Christmas, we flew into Fort Lauderdale. We were in Key Biscayne, and that was like a 9:30.
Wonderful,
because it was direct, and so that wasn't a big deal. But like every other time that I fly west out of here, it's 6 a.m.
Yeah, it's too much.
It's awful.
I mean, I'm old enough to remember the D concourse when it
just sits
thriving.
Out there empty.
It was hustling and bustling. You had to walk down and then back up.
Just wave to it.
Yeah, waved. Yeah, that's where you got all the regional jets. Were always over there on the.
No more.
No more. No
more.
None of that.
All right. Where do we begin with this? I mean, there's a lot to get to here.
And by the way, we're transitioning right into time you with your father.
That's true. He was delayed 3 hours getting in yesterday. So was supposed to arrive at 3. So I booked his flight through my United app. So I booked it, and he was through Denver.
Yeah.
And so
Lucifer.
Thing's an animal, man. It's not
formidable.
Great. So I knew he was delayed before he knew he was delayed. Like he wasn't even in the airport at the airport in Great Falls, and I already knew that it was delayed coming out of it. And I was trying to find a way to get around. Like, what could I do to help him?
Yeah.
Is there another option? Of course, no. Nothing.
Yeah.
Everything's oversold. So the only option was you'd have to fly today And I'm like, well, he's already up. He's already made the trek to the airport, about an
just
hour.
hang out.
Just, you'll have to do 3 hours in Denver.
Belly up
but
to a
then
bar.
you're worried. Well, he hates Elway. And the reason I say that, him and Gibby would have that in common. So he hates Elway with, like, probably his most disliked sports figure is John Elway.
Wow.
Because Elway was, where I grew up, Elway was shoved down your throat.
Got it.
Because, well, we're in the Rocky Mountain region.
Sure.
It was
Denver.
12 hours to Denver. I'm not going to a game.
Right.
So you got Broncos every week. And a guy who, a relative that he really could not tolerate on my mother's side was the biggest Elway fan ever.
And so
So I told him, I'm like, just go to Elway's. It's great. It's right there in the main area there
it is.
at the Denver airport. It actually feels as much like you're in a nice restaurant
as you can in an
Yeah,
airport.
there's a Papa Do's in Houston or Dallas that feels that way too. There's a couple that are like that. But that one's one where it's like you get back in the back and you almost feel like you're at a restaurant. Take your time, get yourself a nice lunch, have a beer, enjoy yourself, whatever. I'll be damned if I'm going to go to Elway, so he's not going to Elway's. So as if John is pocketing the till.
We need you. We need you. We do have to get our fathers together.
It'd be like the Spider-Man gif.
Yes, we have to get them together.
Except opposite. So he ended up getting in at 6 o'clock last night. So it was all fine, and we had a nice night. And it was beautiful last night, but we were hopeful to have like an afternoon because I knew this was coming.
Yeah.
So that's going quite well.
Yeah.
I do have one a landscaping story I'll share later, but the headliner is you've gone to wine country. What you were prepared for, how did this match up?
Pretty spot on, to be honest with you.
You read the brochure.
It's all in the brochure. I think that certain things may be exaggerated in as you know, as time goes on and as a man ages. I think that certain things become like more exaggerated or pronounced would be the word. But yeah, it was all in the brochure. It could not have gone any better. It really was it was a great trip. It was fun. Good wine, good food. We had a great time together. It was great. There were obviously some very funny moments.
Sure.
As I dropped the Paye story where he apparently gives, for those who maybe missed that on Tuesday, he goes into apparently and gives like various wine clubs fake names, and one of those fake names was Paye, P-E-Y-E. And he does that
again.
P-E-Y-E.
P-E-Y-E.
Like Pete, but with a
Paye.
Paye. I called him Paye. Yeah.
Well, he's Paye now.
Yeah. It's better. He didn't use Pedro, by the way. You asked that. I did inquire after the.
Yeah, and he never used Pedro?
Never has used that as his alias. So,
That is a personal
and the reason he does
animus
it
towards Pedro.
is because his
reasoning.
email address are his initials, so you get just the P. So he's like, I can have any P name
Sure, of course.
that I want. And he notices when sometimes he gives his name to one company that has his email address, and then all of a sudden he's getting emails from a bunch of companies, and he wants to know who sold him out. So he's like, if I see it was addressed to Paye, and I know where I gave Paye, but I was like, but you didn't even recognize you were fighting with the guy that I would never have put Paye in there. And then he walks to the table outside of, so we go into this tasting room. The guy's like, Paye's like, I don't know, Paye. I certainly wouldn't have put Paye in there. The guy's like, well, look, that's what it says. He goes, what name do you want in here? And he gave me, Patar. And then we get out to the table outside, and he's like, oh, yeah, I totally gave them Paye. He's like, I used it. I do. And then he came up with this whole story about how he does this sometimes. And we're like, why? And I said, so if somebody.
What is he going to do? How's he going to track him down?
Well, if somebody gives his, I'm done with him. I won't buy from him. That's it. That's
the big payoff.
That's the big
payoff.
payoff. That's the big payoff.
What will they do without Paye's business?
I don't know. Can't go on, must go on. Sue is a saint. Sue is a
saint.
wonderful woman, and we had so much fun with her. She's a saint. All right, I'm going to give one story here. I mean, I could go just kind of chronologically, give a couple stories if you'd like that. Would like a kind of
I like a little, I would like an oral history.
All right, so Friday, we get in, go to the winery that he works at.
Yeah.
Dante Robert in Livermore. Have a lovely tasting there. You can tell he's like a celeb there, and certainly in his own mind, he's very much a celeb there. And he's, yucking it up with everybody,
Is he Norm from Cheers there? Like he walks in and it's.
There's a lot of,
Hey,
and everybody
Pedro.
comes, oh, hey, yeah, and he's,
Hey, Paye.
yeah. And, hey, Paye. Hey, Paye. And so we're doing taste, and he's like, giving a hard time to the people that are bringing, just and in his element, like knows having time of his life. So we go there, and then we came back, and we went to dinner at a place called Spin a Yarn.
Okay.
Which is Fremont is actually it's on the outskirts of Silicon Valley. It is I think there's over 250,000 people there for just like a mini suburb.
Wow.
Like it's like 260, 300,000 people. But it doesn't have a lot of great restaurants, much to my father's chagrin. He is not a fan of that. Now, you go down into the Milpitas or across into Palo Alto or over the hills into Livermore, Pleasanton, there's plenty of good food, but there are only a couple places he likes. So one of them is Spin a Yarn, which is kind of an old school Italian steakhouse, I would call it.
Okay.
So we go in there and get a table at the bar. And I gave a quote after observing the surroundings and everything that was going on that I felt like we were in a Saturday Night Live sketch. Like one where they'd kind of pan around the restaurant and they'd come back to the people at the table talking, like that kind of thing. So you had
like Bellissima or one of those ones like that.
Yes.
When all of a sudden like the waiters are coming over. Oh,
Bellissima.
Yeah.
Yes.
That, yeah.
But this was more for the clientele. So we come in, and apparently it was live music night in the bar.
I love a live music night.
And you had somebody in a black pants, black vest, and then underneath that was a red velvety, sequiny, shirt with a collar.
I want
Bill Murray, the lounge singer.
Really
Yes,
lounge
basically.
That's
He looked like Horatio Sands. So we're like, all right, we have Horatio Sands is on the guitar here. And he's playing, and then he just would make sounds like, ooh, ooh, and then plays.
Amazing.
Okay, so he's going. You've got, at the front corner of the bar, the Sons of Anarchy are hanging out.
You're East Bay.
Yes.
Redwood Original.
4 sons and their old ladies who then begin dancing and at various points are tonguing on the dance floor.
They're running guns, man. Who's stopping them?
You have other groups of various kind of tough-looking individuals of different backgrounds scattered throughout. And then you've got a guy who walks through, and this was, I think, what maybe finally made me say, and our waiter's putting on a show. He's a comedian. He was great.
Yeah.
And then the guy who kind of was like the icing on the cake after I'd absorbed all these various different things. And it felt like many of the groups in there actually in Sons of Anarchy would have been in great conflict with one another. They would have had...
The Irish are over here.
Yes, totally. Completely.
The Mayans are over
yes,
here.
Yes, the Mayans. There was a Mayans table. There was the Suns table. Yes, you had all the tables were represented. And
God.
It was unbelievable. The music was lounge singery, but he would play some songs that you would know. And it was, in terms of actual musical execution, a 4 out of 10. In terms of comedy value, 10 out of 10. And it was so loud, and my dad had to take his hearing aids out because the music was killing the hearing aids. But he actually heard really well at the restaurant, which was very good. But the guy who kind of put over the top for me was a guy comes out of the bathroom, bald, long white hair, the curtain hair.
Yep.
Down to his mid back in an orange Giants jersey, San Francisco Giants jersey, goatee, this float. I was just where
does this
come? Where are we? We're in. I just said, I don't understand what's going on. So we have a nice meal. My dad brought in. He calls up and gets the corkage fee, so we brought a couple of bottles of wine there and did the corkage, and it was great. It really was a great time, but it was Spin a Yarn started it off on an unbelievable note. Bo.
All right. This is a region of the country that is known for its culinary abilities.
Yes.
Why did you end up here?
So this is one of the 3 restaurants he liked. It was solid enough, good pasta, good steak, good apps. The food was
right, but it felt like, to me, I guess in the description, it feels like
I didn't
it
understand
would be,
how anybody that was in that restaurant was in the restaurant, because it wasn't cheap.
Well,
I guess, listen, it's profitable business.
right, I've pulled it up right now. I just want
it's an old school velvet.
It's pretty
it's
cool.
Like an old school Italian steakhouse.
It's pretty great. The
central casting.
Yeah. It really is. I mean, it looks fantastic. I love this. It looks like they have like those round booths, like some half round booths in there.
Yeah, that's what we were in. So we
you
were
were
in
one
a
of those
half
guys?
round. And at first he gets in, and it's funny because it wasn't a perfect half round. Like it was actually one side was a little bit close, and then in the far, that's where we were. Yeah, that was that. I'm pretty sure
Right
the
there.
one on the right's our booth.
I love those.
So we sit in there, and Kayla and I are all comfy, and Susan and my dad starts banging into Sue. Like, I need more room. Move over. And she's like, where do you want me to go? I can't go anywhere. It's like, scoot over. So then we realized that his side was actually a little bit just abruptly stopped. It didn't match my side in terms of the curve, so we all just kind of slid down toward my side. But he was happy. So that was night one, and then night two is going to get into.
You missed this guy.
We missed this guy. Here's the craziest thing: is the next night
Yeah.
was going to be stand-up comedy in the bar at 7:30 on a Saturday. Like, can you imagine going to this?
It's a nice.
It's
white
gonna run
tablecloth,
you
and you're gonna
a few
drop
$100.
Sure,
and then
you got stand up comedy. And the Sons
the
of Anarchy.
restaurant.
What is going on?
I had no idea. So that was great. So then Saturday we had all of Sue's family was over. I had an awesome meal he made, and I'll say I noticed a change in my father that was a new wrinkle in his repertoire. And I will say this: when he has an idea in his mind of how something should go, and that'll get into the next story, which is one of my favorites of the trip. When he has an idea in his mind of how it should go, in terms of laying it out, the timing of it, what we're doing, all of that, like he's usually pretty like, you don't understand. This is what it is, and anything outside of that would get him very upset.
Yeah,
the notion of even
stay on
suggesting,
task.
Yeah. So we had a bunch of people over, and we had a bunch of steaks. At first, he wasn't gonna let me sous vide him, and I was able to convince him to let me sous vide the steaks. I'm like, we're trying to make 8 steaks here. I think a sous vide is probably the best way to make sure that we get this
it's a lot of steak.
all cooked properly and timed out so that it can. So he did that. And then he wanted to slice every steak and just put them on a huge thing. I'm like, why are we going to slice every? We don't need to slice every steak. Maybe we had 6 steaks, 8 people. That's what it was.
Okay.
He's like, and that way nobody gets a full steak and some people don't. I said, I guarantee there are plenty of people at this gathering that don't need a full steak.
Sure.
I said, why don't we serve whoever wants a full steak, take one, and then just cut the other steaks in half. Oh, it's ridiculous. We're slicing it. Ridiculous. Then he comes back like 20 minutes later. He's like, I think we'll just slice every steak in half. We'll just we'll just halve up all the steaks, and people take 1. They can take 2. They can whatever they want.
Okay.
And I'm like, yeah, okay, all right. I didn't.
No, you didn't want to trumpet it.
Didn't belabor. Right,
No,
didn't
no.
belabor the point. Didn't say, oh, well, I wonder where you got that. Good idea.
What a great idea.
So we got there. So that was good. So that was a very good day, and we had again ton of wine, ton of good food. He made steaks, lamb chops, hot links, pesto ravioli, which is always a hit with me.
He made all. God bless.
Yeah, I handled the steaks, but yeah, he did the lamb. He was in there trimming the lamb, carving it up. He was all excited. We had a nice charcuterie board. It was really it was a feast all day long, and I had started it off because I knew Cinco de Mayo was coming on Sunday, and we weren't going to be able to really get into the taco world on Sunday, just in wine country. It didn't feel like we were going to deviate and go into a full fiesta. So there's a taco truck, right, that always is by their house, and they never get it. I'm like, let's check this out.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Of course it was.
Unbelievable.
Of course.
Like tremendous. I'm like, you could walk to this place. This should be every weekend. You should be eating these tacos.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So we got there. So anyways, a culinary light. So it's Sunday, which is a long-winded way of getting to this is one of my 2 payes up there, but this might be this one just sums up so much in one story. So we get up in the morning, and he wants to leave for wine country at 10:30.
You're in the Healdsburg area?
We're going to Healdsburg. So
Oh,
it's
you're
about 2 hours.
you're from his house.
Yes, it's about 2 hours.
Okay.
Cavs tip off at 10 a.m., by the way, on this
That's
on
true.
This day.
Yeah, that's right.
And so we'll go in, we'll get there like 12:30, first tasting, roll through tastings, then we've got a dinner reservation at this place, Willie's, which was one of the better, was phenomenal in Healdsburg. And so he's like, all right, so we'll eat at like 10, and then we're going and we'll go to wine tasting and all this. Now, as you know, I don't really eat until lunch. I don't, and not really. I don't eat until lunch.
No, same.
So I just kind of suggested. I said, well, I don't eat breakfast.
Yep.
You're making, and they did lovely thing for Kayla. She was thrilled with it. I don't eat breakfast.
Yep.
I said, but I can tell you that even if I did, eating at 10 and then me not eating food again until 7:30 at dinner is not.
That ain't it.
It's not going to happen.
That ain't it.
And I'm not talking about just a little charcuterie and cheese board
No.
I need lunch. Like that's just the way my
Yep.
rhythm goes. He is not pleased with the notion that I need lunch. And basically is like, well, then what we'll do is we'll go to a winery, and then we're going to drive 20 minutes in the opposite direction, and we'll go to lunch, and we'll drive 20 minutes back when all the wineries are just right here. And I'm like, okay, look. I was like, I got one taco left over. I said, I'll take a road taco. And I said, I'll have a protein bar.
Yep.
And I'll eat that like as we're getting there around 12:30, and then maybe we can find a snack in the afternoon or something like that.
Yeah.
Don't make a mess with the road taco. Don't worry.
Don't make a mess with your kid. What are you gonna do back
I'm gonna
there?
drive a road taco all over the place. So
Look,
we go, and my dad drives an automobile. I should have added this in. And listen, he's getting older. His eyesight's not as good. He's very cautious now, which is good because he's still here. He has
a lot of
avoided
traffic out there.
Yeah, there's. Oh my God, outrageous. So two things when he's driving. One is he observes a car, and this car could be stopped 1,000 feet ahead.
Sure.
He will begin pumping the brakes like it's a 73 Chevy before anti-lock brakes were instituted. So it's just like you're just like, everybody's rocking around. Miss K gets a little car sick. She was not a fan of that. And then the other thing he's committed to listening to over-the-air radio.
Okay.
Which is great.
It's great.
Loves his music. He's got them all programmed in. He's very excited about it.
Yep.
Now, the problem is when you drive in certain places, signals don't get there.
No, they're not.
So you hear like I do anything for you. Okay? Normally, if you hear that, you would change the station.
Sure you would. Yeah. Find one that's
At a
clear.
minimum, we'll go ahead and turn that volume down when we're just in straight stack, but unfazed. So finally, by the last day, I got to take the car and I went on a coffee run, and or the next to last day, and then I hooked up my phone so that we could just play off of my Spotify. I was like, and welcome to 2024.
So the world works now.
You can have any playlist you want.
Whatever you want.
Whatever you want. Without static. It's really amazing. So we got
Sure
that.
is.
Right. So we get up there. We go to the first place, Chalk Hill. He's a member. He's all fired up. They're like, we don't have reservations. But he's like, oh, I'm a member. Can you help me out? And, okay, so they help us out. So this guy who we just meet sits us down. We get our first glass of wine. And this guy is just making conversation.
Yeah,
with
being
the
friendly.
four of us. Being friendly. Like, oh,
where
you guys in
wine?
from?
Where are you from? How you doing?
He then asks,
Oh, God.
so where are you guys going after this? To which my father replies, this is a direct quote, lunch, apparently. Lunch, apparently. Disgusting. Disgusting. And this guy's like,
What do I?
I don't even know the
I
context
don't know what
of this.
you're
I don't
talking
get-
about, man.
What's wrong with getting lunch? Like, lunch sounds like a nice place
Lunchtime.
to go to. Yeah,
Drink
it
a lot
would
of
be
wine.
lunchtime. We're
Have a
drinking-
sandwich.
Why not? Lunch, apparently. Sue is like almost spits her wine out. I'm crying. I'm like howling, laughing. Kayla is over here rolling her eyes. It was
It's amazing.
to me. That
That's
more
it.
than anything just sums it up. Now, the narrator would go on to tell you we had a lovely time tasting. We ended up going across the street at Roth. We tasted over there. We ended up not having lunch. I made the protein bar thing work, and then we got in and ended up getting back. Went to dinner and had a wonderful meal at Willie's, which is like eclectic Italian, Mexican, Asian, sushi, tapas. So it was all my favorite things. They had a pork belly taco that was just to die for. And yes, cocktails only by the time we got to dinner. But yeah, lunch apparently to me
That's it.
he's got another one that's pretty. I'm gonna
Maybe parcel these out.
I'm gonna set it up for you in the break, and then you tell me if
it's okay.
if it can make
right.
the air. If it can make the air.
What? This is a place that a lot of people want to go to. I was there in.
We saw your hotel right downtown.
Yeah,
so
hotels
Willie's
were-
was
were
right
right on the corner.
Willie's is right there. I bet it had to be there. I bet it's been there for a long time. It's like an institution there.
Yeah, we the night we got engaged, we ate at there. I want to say it was either a Charlie Trotter's or Charlie Palmer restaurant.
Yep, it's right there.
Right
Yep.
in Hotel Healdsburg.
I think it's like the Dry
Creek.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
We ate there. And so we got engaged that night. That was when, like, I'll tell a Reader's Digest version of this story. So I had set it up to where I'd given him a head. We were going to get that. I was going to pop the question. So we go down to dinner, then you get the room right. So we did roses and rose petals and champagne and all of this stuff. And yeah, sure, great. Set the mood. I'm like, we can't do candles as a hotel. So then we got like some electric candles or whatever, all of this stuff to do this ultra romantic thing. And I won't get into all the detail, but one of the things I said is at that time it was Jack Johnson was something that was on the playlist, right? So I said, hey, get me a little Jack Johnson in here, and we'll do it up. So I walk into the room. You're a little. I knew the answer. I knew I was going to get a yes, but at the same time, like you want it to go right. So we open the door to the room, and my now wife knows what's coming, and they forgot to play. They forgot to put the CD in. So instead of "We're Always Better Together" or whatever the hell, some Jack Johnson song, instead of that, and literally you could have just put on any of it would have been fine. Nora Jones at that time, Dave Matthews. There's a million things that would have worked.
Many, many things.
I got engaged to Lenny Kravitz, "American Woman."
American Woman.
That's right.
Ellie, she could have thought that was intentional.
It was booming.
She could have thought that was intentional.
But I couldn't. I'm not going to stop it. I'm in the thrusts of it.
You're like, excuse me. Let's get Jack Johnson.
Honey, can I?
Yeah, hold on.
No,
Yeah,
I just,
You just went for it.
I just went, what are you going to do?
And success.
Yeah. American Woman.
Lenny Kravitz.
What is amazing is the area you were, there are 1,000 sandwich shops. To his defense, once you get into it, it is hard to find places. You get like a stick of bread at the wine tasting, like the bread things. But like when there aren't restaurants once you get into the winery stuff. You're in the wineries.
Exactly.
A lot of people like going there.
We ate at the sandwich shop, the Troubadour.
Yeah.
Quite good.
Quite good.
We did that on the last day. It was
It's a delight. Absolutely. So you've got what is the one thing you would tell people? What's your one piece of advice for people who would want to go out there
to Healdsburg,
to that area, to wine country at large?
Yeah.
What would you? Because it's overwhelming. It can be overwhelming.
What's up? Yes, we're back.
We're back, baby.
I do have to give him, my dad, one last little shout out. He is very knowledgeable about wine, and it can be incredibly charming. And so when you combine that, he got all the wine pourers to like love us very quickly.
Yep.
With his knowledge and comedy. And so we did get lots of pours. So I think if you do your homework and know what you're talking about, that's going to get you some extra pours, which is extra pours are wonderful. What I would say is you got to go to Napa once in your life. You're going to pay a lot for tastings. You really probably should have everything scheduled out or get on one of the trips where they get you into certain places that you would want to go. It's obviously much, much more expensive. And then the wines are much more expensive just because of the Napa area and prestige that, some places will have their entry level cabs at like $150. Mm-hmm. And it's beautiful. Go to Castello d'Amorosa. It's a guy, this billionaire guy, basically built I think it's a 14th century Tuscan castle when everything is actually, all the stones are from Italy. All of the frescoes are actually originals from Italy from that time period. It's one of the most incredible things ever. And they've got pretty solid wine, but just a cool place to visit. But Healdsburg, what's awesome about it is that we went to many wineries where most wines were under $50 and were still very, very good. You might get the occasional that could get up to the 100 area, but it was very reasonably priced. These are wines that you could have for any special occasion, feel very good about serving them, or they're priced well enough that they could be your, everyday wine or whatever you're having at home. And so I thought Healdsburg from that standpoint was really, really cool. The city is very cool, and it's very pretty. Napa has some just spectacular vistas if you get up to some of like the mountain wineries. But if you like wine, If you love wine, it's a no-brainer. If you like wine, it's just sit out amongst the vines and the sun. It's surreal. It's just
it's one of the most beautiful
magical.
places on earth. And I think even if one of you likes wine and the other doesn't, it doesn't matter. You're gonna it tastes different there. It's just
it does taste different.
It's all of it. It's funny. I found the email from my buddy's sister married the guy who operates Fritz Winery, which is in that area. So Fritz Winery, and it was right up from Dutcher Crossing, which is similar to like Ferrari Carano and all of that. It's kind of up in there. And I found the list of restaurants that she gave me. So this was the one that I was thinking. So we did eat at Dry Creek Kitchen. So that's the place where we ate. That's where the American Woman happened. And then we ate at Madrona Manor.
Okay.
Which was like an old like mansion that was like a little bit out.
Okay.
But that was really, really cool and romantic. The other ones she gave me were Bar Diva, Bistro Ralph, Sena Luna. Some of these might not even
I don't think
exist
they're
anymore.
still there because I went through.
Manzanita. Those were all in Healdsburg.
We'll add Willie's to the list if you're listening at
I will,
home. Willie's was.
Yeah, I actually have the email from the Hotel Healdsburg. It's funny. I searched Healdsburg, and I have the email
That's
them
awesome.
apologizing for
the
mess up on
sorry
the
about
CD.
that. Yeah, our bad.
You blew it, boy.
Yeah. Well,
You had one job.
it worked out.
It worked okay.
It worked out.
All right, we got a lot to get to. I look
Do
forward
we?
to. I don't know. Actually, we
I
don't.
mean-
It's a lie. There's nothing going on. Like Gibby and I were talking about this yesterday. NFL wise, I don't ever recall anything as quiet. The fact that the schedule didn't come out this week, it's coming out next week. Between the draft and now, there's been nothing. In the lead up to the draft, there was nothing. It's just a really quiet time in the sport.
We can talk about the roast. Did you watch that?
We did. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we can. Yeah, we got a lot. You got a lot of stuff we can weigh in on here. We're off and running. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Tickets are on sale now for WWE SummerSlam. Go
Oh,
to
baby.
Cleveland Browns Stadium Saturday, August 3rd. Visit clevelandbrowns.com/WWE SummerSlam to purchase your tickets today. The start of rookie minicamp is coming. Rookies arrive today, and then Friday through Sunday, some orientation, a little bit of meetings and field work on that side of things. So we'll get our look at these guys.
Sue enjoyed the recap. She said hi to Bo and Gibbe.
Oh, God bless Sue.
Yes, please, yes.
What's Pedro up to today? Was he
Who
listening
knows?
along?
I don't know. I'll
Probably.
find out. Sue will let me know if he was
Sue will let
listening.
you know
He
what
probably
the real truth is on that.
He's probably disputing some of the facts that were laid out. I don't think so. I think it was a pretty good. It was pretty.
I think it was
spot on.
probably a tame version and a very inaccurate, but also somewhat muted version
Yeah,
of the real truth.
yeah.
There's a little, You did a nice job as a son. You did a good job.
I think so.
That was very
I
good
think so.
job of
It
you.
really was. It was a great trip.
Did you guys make the juice? You mentioned the roast. We talked about it a little bit on Monday. Did you? Let me ask you this. Forget the. Well, we can get into that stuff too. But why do you think he did it?
It sounded like you got $30 million.
Oh, that's what it was.
That's what I read. I don't know if it was. Like,
I
that's
never saw a
confirmed.
number attached to it.
I think 30.
Well, does he need that?
I mean, if
Think about the.
somebody said, "Hey, you got to sit here and people are going to tell jokes for 2 hours for $30 million." I'd be like, "Sure." I'm also not Tom Brady, but I think
But I just because of the newness of the Giselle stuff,
some of those were
vitriolic.
brutal.
Yeah.
Is that Nikki Glaser?
Nikki Glaser won She won it. She was the winner. Her set alone was.
By the way, so she was on Howard the next day,
Yeah, and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
jokes that
and she went through all the
didn't do.
jokes that she couldn't use.
That's right.
They were
so
amazing.
She must have. By the way, you got to tip your hat to her because she obviously knew that she was going to throw 180. Because to get from Los Angeles Sunday to in studio Howard Stern, New York Monday morning means that she would have had to leave as soon as the roast was over. She would have had to been on a private plane to New York, and to be on Howard the next day. So either somebody got in touch with her very quickly and said, "We need you in New York today," or she knew and had that planned out. Like, how quickly can you make arrangements to get a plane from Los Angeles to New York? How much notice do you need?
I would
If it
imagine
wasn't
at a
pre-
certain level, not
Well,
much.
it would take that certain level
because there are going to
Howard
be a
would at
lot
that
of
level.
planes in LA.
She wouldn't be at that level, but Howard
No.
would be at that
But
level where he could say, "I need her."
There
here
are planes around LA.
For sure.
So I don't think it'd be that hard.
to just be
But
like,
I
"Hey,
think-
go down here. We need you on Howard tomorrow morning."
Or it was like, hey,
Or she
we're
knew-
going to have this booked, and if you kill,
It's possible
We're
somebody
going.
knew she would kill.
Yeah.
And said, "Hey, trust us."
yeah. That's yeah, and kill she did. My takeaways, just like kind of high level, and I didn't watch the whole thing through, although I heard there are some things that have been edited out for when I do watch the whole thing through.
Yeah, the
Like,
Kardashian stuff.
yeah. How can they do that?
How do they have that power to do that?
And why would they care?
Why would they care? It's worse the other way.
It's worse. Agreed. By the way, he's putting away wine and laughing here and there. So I feel like that's a win. An occasional chuckle.
An
We'll take it.
occasional chuckle.
We'll
of a
take
great
it.
Pedro. Fantastic.
So my top level things were, number one, I give him a lot of credit because clearly nothing regarding him anyway was off limits. I mean, he got annihilated.
They did say that they were relatively good to the kids, but the kids took some side blows, some glancing blows for sure.
Well, part of it was his fault.
Absolutely. No question.
Yeah. I thought, has anybody heard anything more about when he went up to Jeffrey? Because I saw the clip of that.
Yes,
So
Glazer talked about that on Stern and said that she thought that her feeling was that was performance art because of how much he loves Kraft, but that in fact he was not mad at Jeff Ross at all. In fact, Ross was on something.
and
He was on a
comment on it.
podcast Monday and was like, "No, nothing to that
Okay.
at all."
It was just
so
part
it was
of
more of performance art for Kraft, like that. I got your back.
Yeah.
That's all. That's what it was.
Did you see that Edelman said that you could cut the tension with a knife between?
That was
Bill and
probably
Kraft.
my favorite behind the scenes was him telling the story of Belichick, like talking to all of his boys, and then Kraft walks into the room. And
He's
it's
trying
like-
to get Belichick's attention. He's like 5-0, 5-0.
Yeah.
and then the two of that. So, yeah, I mean,
So
that-
he did. He definitely called down there and nuked him. That's my.
to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then he tried to save face in the roast by like, this is the greatest coach of all time and all of that. No, that was a spite
Bill
store.
looked very uncomfortable.
Very.
In
yeah.
the midst of that.
Yeah.
So I thought everybody really had good I don't know that there was really anything. But I haven't seen the Affleck thing. That's the only thing that I've seen that's people are like, what happened? I haven't seen whatever he
just went on some weird rant about social media, and not like social media has ever been critical of Brady. Like they love Brady. Everybody loves Brady.
The other thing I felt was like it gave me some hope that people can understand that comedy can still be comedy, and you can say things that are outrageous and or offensive, but that are funny.
Yeah.
That you can do that. And
I think we're getting to that.
There was a time, I don't know when, where there would have been a lot of people coming out of this roast that would be up for cancellation based on their sets.
There is no question. But I think
I'm happy that we're not
like
that.
Shane Gillis hosting SNL. We had that a couple of months ago, and he would be somebody that would have probably fallen in with that. It's funny. Like I told you, I was watching NBC watched Arrested Development, and I watched a couple of episodes of that. And I'm like, there's no way this show gets made now.
No,
and it was on network television.
Yeah,
in the 2000s. So like, I think we are getting closer back to like everybody like let's chill out a little bit on this stuff, right? I mean, inappropriate's inappropriate, but like this, come on, let's. Have
it
a
was
little
good
fun along the
though.
way.
It was better than like you and I. That could have been a debacle.
But if they paid him $30 million, which is it's an astronomical number for that, it's still a lot for him to risk considering whatever his relationship is with his ex-wife, and obviously all the reports is she is not pleased, and I can't imagine.
She wasn't pleased with the roast?
No, or why he did it. She doesn't understand why would you do it? We have all the money in the world. Like why you got a $300 million Fox deal? Like if it was for money, why?
I don't know.
Why? Why would you do it? My theory was that he did it to humanize him.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's something would you sign up for it?
I mean, it would be
if you had all the stuff that if you had
but I would right now would.
It takes a lot to sit there. I'll admit, it takes a lot to sit there and smile while people say things that, while are funny, there is a large hint of truth to.
What about? I mean, from Giselle's perspective, at least the bits I heard were not negative about her in any way. It was more that she had moved on from him rather
perhaps
emphatically, or perhaps yes.
Well, that was quite
but that to me
off-putting if you're her, I'm sure.
For sure, but at least it sounded like she was more desired than he was.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That was pretty wild, that stuff. But so it would be hard to take all of that.
Yeah.
So I think he did it to like humanize himself and to like, look, I can laugh about all of this because he's almost like a robot.
Yes.
In a way.
I would say though, like the people that were, at least from what, again, I have not seen the entire thing, so you can tell me if I'm wrong, but it's felt
over
like
3 hours long. So
it felt like his buddies or guys who were like his teammates, his peers that he likes and respected were funny about him, but they weren't necessarily as mean as like the professional comedians were.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think he would only be, when you say it'd be hard, and it would probably be harder and would hurt more if your friends were the ones who threw out some of the like intensely mean stuff.
Yes, for sure. I co-sign that. Last one for you on it. Who should do it next?
So
I think there is a right answer, by the way.
Well, I'm going to have two.
All right.
And hopefully I'm able with two out of everybody in humanity.
All of humanity. I think you're going to get the right answer in one of your two
Is it just
guesses.
Sports?
I did sports.
You did sports. Okay.
Yeah.
So my answers are going to be sports as well. My first was going to be Tiger Woods.
That's it. That's the one. It's been long enough. There's a lot, but it's been long enough. His kids are grown.
I don't know.
It's all been out there for 15 years. I don't think he'll do it. He's way too protective, way too private, and there's no motivation for him to.
The other one is LeBron.
Yeah, I don't think his would be funny at all because I don't know that he would allow for it. I don't think he would. And honestly, there's not much you can go at him for. Like, he doesn't have.
Well, there are all the interviews where he's made up many facts about various things.
But we all know that. I don't know that, like, he doesn't have like a scandal.
No,
like, the worst thing he's done is leave here awkwardly at a Boys and Girls Club in Connecticut. Like, that's the worst of it. Like,
yeah.
Tiger.
Oh, no. Yeah,
that's the correct answer.
By the way, what about the Deflategate? He's like, they could have just paid me $20 million. I told him I did.
Told him I did it. It's great.
I can't believe he said that.
Well, I always stand by with, even when all of that was going on, I just thought it was such nonsense.
You still have to throw the ball.
Right.
You still have to read the
we
defense,
all thought
throw
it was
the ball.
stupid at the moment. It was getting Capone for tax evasion. Like, this is what we're worried about? The amount of air in a ball?
He still has to throw it.
Nonsense. All right. We've got we're going to hear from our old buddy, Elliot Wolf. We'll have from that. Coming up, some other news and notes around the National Football League. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. And Bo here for my team at Renew Home Exteriors. It's time to update the exterior of your home. You know it. You're tired of that same old vinyl siding. Well, listen up now. You receive 10% off Renew's luxury composite clad siding during their spring siding sale. Composite not only outshines vinyl, it comes in 20 vibrant, maintenance-free colors to suit your style. Imagine a stunning exterior without the hassle. Renew your home with Renew Home Exteriors composite clad siding. Renew Home Exterior, superior products and superior service. Visit renewestimate.com for more. All right, this is from our guy Elliot Wolf. He was on Adam Schefter's podcast discussing the 1996 draft and being in the Packers' war room at the time.
Who else stands out on that list that you remember him talking about the Packers drafting?
Ross Verbo was one. Picked in the first guard from Iowa, picked in the first round. John Michaels was one, tackle from USC. Now that one didn't work out. That's actually an interesting story because they were getting ready to draft Ray Lewis, and Baltimore picked him right before, the pick before, and then they ended up picking John Michaels. So he got his prediction right, but it would have been a lot better to get Ray Lewis.
Wait, hold on. So the Packers would have taken Ray Lewis if he were available, and he went right before them?
The pick before.
And were you in the war room to watch the proceedings surrounding that?
I was.
And what do you remember about that?
There was some disappointment because they actually had Ray on the phone. They were talking to Ray, and the Baltimore was still on the clock. Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
And so what do you remember about that disappointment and then being on the phone with him?
Just, they thought Ray was one of the best players in the draft. I mean, there were games where Ray had like 20 tackles. And, I know that's easy to say now. He's one of the best linebackers of all time, first ballot Hall of Famer, all that. But, he was kind of seen as an undersized middle linebacker back in the day. And, he wasn't what we know as Ray Lewis now. So Baltimore obviously had a good one.
Here's the thing with that. Almost everybody in the league passed on Ray Lewis.
Yep.
At that time, he's an end of the first round guy. And the other thing is my guess is when you're in that war room, even when you don't know that you're missing out on Ray Lewis, you're just on to the next.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably liked him, would have liked to have had him, but you had no inclination he was going to be Ray Lewis.
Of course, right. Then afterwards, you're like, dang.
Well, yeah. Would have been.
I mean, there was also no inclination that, based on what he did in college and the way that he was used, obviously, in that North Carolina system, that Michael Jordan was going to be Michael Jordan. Now, Sam Bowie, you obviously regret that. But
that was a different time, though. So here's the thing with that. In those days, in the league, you drafted for your need.
Period.
Like, it took Jerry Buss going to Jerry West and Bill Sharman, who's the GM of the Lakers at the time, and saying, like, you're drafting Magic Johnson. Because they wanted Sidney Moncrief because they already had Norm Nixon.
Right.
Their attitude was, we have a point guard. Why do I need another point guard?
I
I don't need that. I got one.
Yeah.
They weren't thinking this guy's transformational. So, like, the Blazers had Drexler. They had a great 2.
Yeah.
Why do I need another 2?
Yeah.
That's how that happened.
Yeah. But I'm also saying it wasn't like coming out that everybody's
No.
like, oh, he's going to be Michael Jordan.
We are smarter now scouting athletes than we've ever been. It was far more of a crapshoot. There were way more busts now than there are now across all sports. We can identify talent, great talent early. You go look at like college football and top 100 recruit lists. The guys who are 5 stars most of the time are dudes. Most of the time they're dudes. Basketball, there's almost never a basketball bust.
Yeah.
You can spot those guys coming from 100 miles away. But in those days, it was totally different.
Yeah.
Like you were, and I think the Akeem thing. I mean, it's kind of a lot like with Miles with us, right? Like, thank God Miles is Miles
For sure.
because if he's not in a draft that had Watson and Mahomes, you'd be going, my God. But Miles was Miles. Thank God.
Yeah, Miles.
And that's the same thing with Akeem Olajuwon. The guy that went first was Akeem.
Yeah.
And you go, okay. He's an
Hall of
all-timer,
Famer,
first ballot
all-timer,
Hall of
yeah.
Famer. Like he's a top
Champion,
50 player
yeah.
of all time, 2-time champion, top 5
Got
center
everything you
ever.
wanted out of him as a number 1 pick.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the Bowie one that everyone goes, right. So that's always the tricky one.
By the way, they could have just Drexler was like a good 6'7". You could have kicked Drexler to the 3 and then made Jerome Kersey come off the bench, and you're Terry Porter, Jordan, Drexler in the backcourt with maybe
Duckworth,
Buck
they had
Williams,
Buck Williams, yeah,
and Duckworth.
So, yeah, for sure. It was just one of those things that, again, like they just didn't think that way. The other thing was, in those era, they thought you're a shooting guard. They weren't even thinking like you're both going to play on the wing.
No.
Like there's a difference between
1,
a shooting
2,
guard
yeah.
and a small forward.
Yeah.
How
about the fact that the Blazers, so they twice cost themselves very good players because they had Drexler and didn't think about, oh, well, maybe we can do more. They didn't play Drazen Petrovic. They had Drazen Petrovic there and didn't play him.
I thought you were
all.
going the other way. They drafted Greg Oden over Kevin Durant.
Yeah,
They
that's a
drafted
draft
Oden
one.
number 1 overall, Durant number 2. Oden was hurt a lot at Ohio State, and you probably should have seen the red flags. The one pushback that I always give on the Oden thing is, at the time when he came out, everybody thought he was a combination of Bill Russell and Patrick Ewing. Like
Yeah.
he was
No, he was
7'2". He was the consensus number 1. He was the next guy after. Was he either right? Yeah, he was right after Braun. He was like the next. Yep, that's it. That's the guy. And then the injuries undid him. But yeah, they had a lot of star-crossed stuff for them. Yeah, the Drazen stuff. You're right. They didn't play him. He was sitting there.
Just sitting there, sat on the bench, played a few minutes a game.
Yeah, absolutely. We didn't get to this one last week. OBJ to the Dolphins. And then he goes, that's a nice spot for him.
It's a very good spot for him. What did he end up signing for?
He was 8 with incentives.
That's
If he can get the incentives.
I think the incentives take it up to
Take
8.
it to
I think
8.
it was like a $4 million
That's right.
incentives up to 8.
That's what he should be at. And he's going to be in a situation where now he will exclusively see man-to-man coverage in a one-on-one coverage. He will not be double-teamed ever in that offense. Oh, look at him.
Who's back.
Look at him. Look at him.
Shady's back.
Feeling good.
Really is.
He's the king of the castle, too. Look at him.
It's a rainy Tuesday, and he's a ray of sunshine.
A ray
That's
of
all
sunshine.
that guy
Yeah,
is.
very paint him on. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
What? Just really just
Get those babies on. All right. Second hour of the program coming up next. Just the Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, second hour here, Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet, sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns, now live in Ohio. Time for some perspective, some film perspective, if you will, on the Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea Hotline. Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted. Cleveland. Lance Reisland, join us, cleveland.com. Lance, thank you so much for taking the time. Let's start. You did these incredible film breakdowns at cleveland.com of the various draft picks. Let's start with Mike Hall. It was somebody that we identified pretty quickly here on the program that, boy, if it worked, it would be kind of everything you were looking for. What does the film say?
Well, the film says he's perfect situationally, right? So he's a guy, he doesn't have to come in, doesn't have to be a three-down guy. He doesn't play the run really well at this point in his career. He's a young kid, he's 20 years old, but what he does really well is he rushes the passer. He's got an extensive ceiling where he can, he's pass rush, his ability to get off the ball, his first step. He does a lot of things well in the pass rush game, and then everything he does that he needs to work on, he can do that over time. He doesn't have to come in and make an impact on all three downs. Film tells you he's a heck of an athlete, 26-plus pressures on the quarterback. He's constantly in the backfield. He was part of that really good defensive line at Ohio State.
What stands out? You mentioned his pass rushing and the stats, and we've seen that quickest time to pressure. What's his dominant move or moves that he likes to employ to get to the quarterback?
Well, he's a Schwartz perfect fit, right? So he's a one-gap guy, likes to get upfield, but his best move is a simple arm over. Some people call it a swim move. It's not really a swim move, but his quick arm over, quick club arm over is what he wins with most of the time. I think, as he gets to the NFL, he wins so much now on athletic ability, which is the case with a lot of guys when they come into the NFL. If they're NFL guys, they win because they're better. They get on the shoulder and they go in that gap. The good thing about a Schwartz defense is very, very simple. And you watch a Schwartz defense, and the reason they're so successful is because they get lined up and they know exactly what they're doing and they get to play fast. My dad always taught me, if your head is thinking, your feet aren't moving. And in the NFL, if your feet aren't moving, you're beat. So I think what he's going to allow him to do, he'll be able to play fast. He's best when he's on the move. So stunting, twisting, third down situation, he'll get in that wide three. He's athletic enough to play that wide five if they need it. They can put him inside, put him outside, depending on what matchup they want for Miles and those other guys. But he adds a third down rush element that is really going to be helpful for the Browns.
Yeah, I've seen every game Mike's played in college. Certainly didn't do a film breakdown like you did. And I told Z when we selected him, like, dude, there's times when he was the best player on the field at Ohio State, and that was saying something. Like, he was downright dominant. So we've talked about all of the things that he does that are great. As you're looking at the film, where does there need to be improvement?
Well, he's got to improve against the run. So he's not a guy who's going to anchor in there as a big old free technique, But that's really not what the Browns do. But occasionally, especially if he'd be a three-down guy, he's got to be able to anchor in there, have a little bit of gap integrity, take on those double teams, kind of protect those linebackers at times. Because when you blow a gap, if you're that guard or that tackle gets a free run at your linebacker. So he's got to be able to play the run a little bit better. He doesn't take on double teams very well right now, and that's because simply he gets off the ball, I think, a little bit high. And again, he wins so much with athleticism. Being down on that practice field last couple of years, in the NFL, everybody's so good. Those guys are such unicorns. You have to be so fundamentally sound. And I think he'll get there, but right now he does not play the run very well, but he doesn't need to. Right. And, with the Browns roster where it's at, they've gotten it to where they can get guys that can help in certain situations. And he can help right now as a pass rusher and learn how to play the run.
Talking with Lance Reisland and from Cleveland.com. And Lance, you probably came across watching some Mike Hall film. Our next pick, Zach Zinter, the big guard out of Michigan. What kind of stands out about him? He just seems to me just so solid, like just a solid player that should be able to be in this league for a while.
Well, he's probably the best offensive lineman on the best offensive line in the last couple of years in college football. And what he does really well is that, first of all, he comes from a hardball offense, which for me is big because he's coming out of a huddle, which is, people don't understand that's important. He's also had the verbiage of these play calls. They're going to kill it, and they're going to have multiple plays within one. He's also been around. He's ran zone. He's run gap schemes. He's a great pooler. He gets to the second level really, really well. He's got really, really strong hands. He latches on. He uses independent hands in his pass protection. So he'll jab you with that big straight arm and then latch on with that left. And he's just a tactician. You can tell he's really, really well coached. He's got a little bit of a mean streak, so he fits. I always say the interior guys, those guards in the center, they have to be the nasty guys who will vertically displace you at the ball. But outside guys have to be athletes. And, he's a guy inside that he can pull. He can get to the next level. He can down block. He can do all the schemes, pin and pull. He can do all the things the Browns have been doing for a couple years. He fits in perfect, and he kind of gives you a little bit of freedom in terms of I think he can play both right and left. Doesn't move great laterally, but that's why he's in at a guard, not at a tackle.
Yeah, and you actually answered the question I was going to ask about. We run a lot of pin pull. There's talk about his, ability to move laterally, but I was going to say the same thing you did. When I watched, it felt like he was incredibly effective as a puller for Michigan, and that's obviously, when you think about a lot of the big run plays that happen for the Cleveland Browns, it could be Wyatt Teller pulling around, it could be Joel pulling around. Sometimes it's pulling out on the same side on the pin pull, but that's kind of how we get a lot of our big runs to the outside. So you like his ability to do that.
Well, yeah, his lateral movement. So if you're thinking side to side like basketball shuffling, he's not great. So sometimes he'll get a guy on an edge in a pass rush situation that'll give him some problems. But when you talk about vertical, like he can move vertically straight ahead.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a lot of shaky and suddenness and twitchiness inside like some guys do. If you think about an Aaron Donald on the defensive line, but he's a guy who can pull. I've actually heard of some people say, can he pull? I think that's one of his ability to get off those double teams and get to the second level on zone, and his ability to pin and pull. But the Browns are special in what they do in their counters. They'll pull those guys all the way around, so they'll actually secure the end and get those guards all the way out and around. They do, they not just run counter and pin and pull, but they do it a bunch of different ways. And he's a guy who can handle all that. And again, I think coming from, coming from a system like Michigan and Harbaugh, he's a little ahead of the game in terms of terminology, his long play calls, his ability to get in and out, understand blitzes, understand fronts and coverages, and things he's going to see at the next level. So, and more importantly, he's just a real tough guy. He's a tough dude, and you can see it on film.
Lance, a lot of people thought we would go receiver early in this draft. It wasn't until the 5th round that we did. It was Jamari Thrash out of Louisville. What do you see on tape with him? What will his niche be with this team?
Well, yeah, everybody thought, and first of all, I never think you're wrong going big. Football from high school to pro is one inside, so I'm never against trying to ante up and get some more guys in interior. I think that's so important. Thrash was a guy that I really liked in 22 at Georgia State. He had a little bit more chunk to his game, meaning a lot of passes were attempted 15 to 20 yards downfield, a lot more of the outside routes, the comebacks, the digs, the verticals. He runs well enough, but for sure his number one quality is his ability to stop and start, accelerate and decelerate. He has a great change of pace, which allows him to create separation. I also think he's a guy that's going to be really special on special teams. He was a gunner at Louisville his last year, and then in Louisville, they did some more quick screens with him. They didn't vertically get him the ball enough. Now, what I like about him is that I think he can play both. He can play inside or out. It seems like he's got a really high football IQ, which is going to allow him to be in the mix for that 4th, 5th receiver in terms of he can back up everybody. I think he can cover kicks. The new kickoff is a big thing. It's going to be a big thing next year in terms of it's going to turn into an offensive play. So they got to find guys that can cover and do things like that. But I think he's a guy who creates great separation, can play multiple positions, and I think he's a guy that will help the Browns down the road. And again, a guy who needs some work, some details, but does a lot of things really well.
How were his hands? Because that was one of the questions that came up in his last year, that he did struggle a little bit with drops, but that he is an excellent route runner and separator.
Well, I thought most of his drops, like the obvious drops, were early in his career at Georgia State. I thought the last 2 years, when you look at 22 and 23 at Georgia State and Louisville, he had some drops, but they were more the ones they weren't the simple drops like you see on a hitch or a slant and things like that. They were some more 50-50 balls. He's not a great 50-50 guy because he's not real big. He's 188 pounds. But what he does with that change of pace, he really kind of lulls you to see. He kind of gives you a little bit of that Cooper in terms of like he'll work leverages, he'll work angles, he'll work blind spots of secondary guys. He's pretty advanced in his route running. I think the hands will come. I think he's, been with a bunch of different coordinators and things like that. But I look at guys when they catch the ball, are they natural ball catchers? Do they pluck it out of the air and don't let it, get on them? And he does a nice job of that. I don't see any issues with his hands moving forward.
One guy that I know I'm excited about, I just saw our special teams coordinator, Bubba Ventrone, down in the cafe, and I think he's excited about him too, is Nathaniel Watson. I mean, it's funny that 6'2", 233 now is considered a giant linebacker when not that long ago that probably would have been a smaller linebacker, but he can get up to around 240. But, I mean, so productive, led the SEC in sacks and tackles, SEC Defensive Player of the Year. What do you see when you pop the tape on with Watson?
Well, he's real long, so 81 plus in his wingspan. He's also real fast, right? So he ran a 4.6 something 40. Really, really elite speed. Now, what he does best is he plays downhill, whether he's blitzing or whether he's reading run, reading those double teams on zone, et cetera. He gets in that A and B gap, and he's downhill. Now, he's not his weakness right now, I'd say, is his ability to cover man against especially some of the NFL skill that he'll see. But he plays with his absolute hair on fire. So first thing you see is him coming in and being a cover guy on that kickoff. And I'm going to say it over and over. I think that kickoff is going to be a big deal, and they need to find guys that can really cover. So that's the first thing he's going to do. Next, I think he kind of fills that Taki role, right? So he's a guy who's going to come in. He's going to be able to excel on special teams and continually learn the game at linebacker. You know, and Taki, I think, was a pretty substantial loss, 66 tackles last year. But he was also a guy who kind of gave you that physical guy in there who take on lead blocks, things like that. So I think he's an SEC guy, so he's seeing really talented guys day in and day out. Again, downhill, whether he's blitzing, if he's coming in A or B gap and he's vertically getting north and south, he is a load to block. Sometimes he struggles a little bit with seeing things. I think will all come with practice, but what it really well is what the Browns want him to do. They want him to get in the gap and go. Read what you see, believe what you see, and pull the trigger. And I think he's a guy who can do that. And like you said, you don't lead the SEC in those categories and not be an elite athlete. And, he runs really well. He tested really well. And then the film tells you the same. He's just a guy who, some guys are past their measurables, right? So they just make plays, right?
Yep.
Some guys just make plays. And he's a guy, when you look at him on film, he just makes a ton of plays.
So my question is, he's got the size, he's got the speed, he has the production. He's obviously going to be able to be a kind of a walk-up blitzer in this defense. He had the 10 sacks last year. Is it just simply, is he maybe just because he's more of a two-down linebacker profile today? Is that why he was there for the Browns? It feels like he was as productive as you could be in the SEC, which typically translates pretty well to the National Football League.
Well, it brings a lot of it with passion, right? So when you look at him as compared to like JOK, he doesn't have that side-to-side sudden twitchiness. You look at JOK and he looks like he could play slot receiver sometimes. He's running so fast, right? So he kind of, they're looking, like you said, they're looking for that big hybrid DB type who's 225 to 230 who can run. JOK is kind of the poster child of that right now. There's a guy who can do so many things and be an athlete. Watson is not a superior athlete, meaning in terms of like side-to-side movement, change of direction, short area quickness. What he is a guy sees what he believes and he just goes. He's like, a bull in a china shop. He's gonna get forward and make plays that are in front of him. He'll struggle with guys in space, I think, early on in terms of, if they can get him isolated in the flats or on Texas routes over the middle, things like that. I think there's some things that will give him trouble. But again, I think Schwartz, that people don't talk about Schwartz enough, is his ability to put people in really good situations. He'll never put these guys in situations they can't do. He's going to put them in situations that they're good at. And right now for him, that's getting after the pass or third down. He can play in nickel where he's going to drop back in coverage and rally forward and make tackles. When they check it down underneath on third down. So he's just a guy who gives you a big body and a guy who's going to give you tremendous energy at practice.
Lance, this was great, man.
Yeah.
Great info. Really appreciate you. Good stuff out of you. Thanks for your time.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
That's Lance Reisland. He's very good. That was a lot of good information there. Cleveland.com. He joined on the Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea hotline. Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. Interesting comments and scenes, honestly, coming out of Cincinnati in regard to Joe Burrow. I want to get your take on this coming up next. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. right, welcome back into Cleveland Browns Daily. It's brought to you by Bally Bet, sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns, 850 ESPN Cleveland. So Joe Burrow bulked up. I'll get to his comments on this stuff in a second of the 18-game schedule, but he bulked up. He added 15 pounds of muscle. I was talking to Mike Petraglia down there earlier this week, and he said it's noticeable how much muscle he's added. I asked him, I said, well, look, one of the things that's a real concern, and they're now talking about it out loud, is like this guy's got to get through a season. Yeah. Half of his NFL seasons he hasn't gotten through. And so my thing is, what he is naturally is an extender of the pocket, a runner when there aren't there to create first downs, and he's somebody who holds onto the ball. Back end. Put it down first. There you go.
Beautiful.
So anyway, he holds onto the ball about a half second long, hoping that maybe something develops with Chase downfield.
Yeah.
So rather than trying to coach that stuff out of his game, what he did is he put on weight, which I do not think is a good idea, especially when you think about quarterbacks now. It's all about flexibility. Yeah, you want to be strong with the weights and all of that, but you want to be flexible. Is what kind of the trend has been. So I was surprised. The last time, I mean, like all I could think of was like Brady Quinn.
He's not going to become Ben.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he looks good. His legs look good and strong. But he's to me, he's had kind of weirdish injuries anyway.
Yes.
Other than the ACL, but the calf, whatever happened to his wrist, putting on more mass is the parts that can't get any bigger are not going to get any bigger for him.
No, they're not. So he also had comment on this. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell recently admitted the league may look to you don't say to an 18-game season. Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow was quick to respond, arguing in favor of an additional bye week.
Yes.
Now the signal caller has doubled down on his take by offering an even more expansive alternative. Maybe you could do something like the first bye is kind of how we have it now, and the second bye everybody has it once, and you make it like the Pro Bowl week, like an all-star break in the NBA.
No.
I don't know. People get paid a lot of money to make these decisions and make those decisions, but we'll see how it plays out. It won't play out that way,
nope.
Joe.
No. Could you imagine if Burrow or Mahomes got hurt in a mid-season all-star game?
Furthermore, can you imagine going to your network partners who pay you billions and saying, we're going to take this whole week off?
No.
We're not going to give you a Thursday night TV show. We're not giving you Sunday TV shows, Sunday night, Monday
night
you're
going to get this
shows.
Pro Bowl thing.
You're going to get this Pro Bowl thing instead.
Yeah.
No. I do think 2 buys is smart.
2 buys is absolutely the way it should go, and it should be on a rotating basis where you have like kind of 3-week periods and you rotate out a third of the league even. You're still going to have enough to fill every time slot on television. And you do it so that there are kind of 3, if you're at 18 games, 3 6-game seasons. So that you would try to make it so that you play 5, 6, or 7 games.
Yes.
And then get a break. So that the longest stretch any team would ever have would be, let's see, if you got one after 6, 6, and 6 obviously would make it perfectly, but you can't have the whole league there. So you're going to have some at 5, some would be at 7. You could go 5, 6, so that you could make it so that 7 games you would never play more than 7 consecutive games. Why not?
No, there's no reason not to. They'll never do it. I wish they would go the other way. I wish they would go to back to 16 then add the 2 bye weeks in there and extend the season.
That's fine.
Extend the season out in the window that it's played a little bit.
Well, it'll still be 18 weeks as it is now.
With a second bye?
Yeah, because it'd be 16 games and 2 bye weeks.
Yeah, that's true. Because you have the 17.
Right now you're at 17-1. You're at 18.
Yeah.
18 and 2 is now it's a 20-week season. It's
end of February.
Yeah,
well, Goodell was talking about playing President's Day, the Super Bowl, the Sunday of President's Day. You're just going, God, when am I ever going to be off? Will we ever be off?
And that'll be
your anniversary.
My anniversary. Yeah.
Jeez, sure. Man. Yeah, it's such a 16 was the sweet spot. I don't like it for this is just get off my lawn stuff, but I don't like it from the numbers standpoint. Like it makes it so difficult to compare.
Well, yes.
You're just going to have guys annihilating records.
18, you would just talk about the season in thirds. The problem with 17 is it doesn't
There's a
fit.
million. No, 17's stupid.
You can't have quarters because one would be now would be thirds, 6, 6, 6, and 6.
Yeah, that's a lot of ball.
Yeah.
And
a lot of ball.
Yeah. You think about like what happened to us last year injury-wise. It happened to a lot of people in the league. It's just a lot of ball. I wish there was some way to extend extend the 16 games into a 20-week window.
4 bye weeks. They wouldn't do that.
Couldn't do that. Well, you could. I mean, you could just have, every 4 weeks you're off for a week to get healthy.
People want to play. The bye weeks are 2 of them would be
4 is too many.
Four's, yeah. Agreed.
Maybe a week off between them. Well, no, you're not going to do that either. Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, they're never going back to 16, but I thought that's the number that I wish they'd get back to. It'll be 18, and it'll be over 20 weeks, and that's how they'll do it. All right, we'll hit the mailbag coming up next. Listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back into Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, sports betting partner, your Cleveland Browns, now live in Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Time for a little mailbag Thursday, presented by the Cross Country Mortgage Company, official mortgage partner of your Cleveland Browns. When it comes to financing, they're always going to get you home. Visit ccm.com today. Equal housing opportunity, NMLS 3029. Hello, Gibby.
Hi, boys.
You had a lot going on back there, Gibby. You had a lot.
You know, I got a ton of video expertise. Crushing it.
Now you're on. Now you got it.
That's on me.
Listen,
There's a lot.
you're
There's
handling a lot.
No Griff.
You're doing the work of
I do have to shout out Griff, who came in out of the pasture to give me the assist. I was like, hey, dude, I don't know what's going on, but when the guys go to break, I can't get them off the camera. I don't know what's going on.
Was it simple or was it not simple?
No, he was like, Gibbs, I've been gone a week. What have you done? And I'm like, it's pretty good. I got the audio part figured out, but not the video part. So we're working through it. Baby steps, kids.
Yep.
Speaking of baby steps, I don't know if you guys saw this or not. This came down the last half hour. Former NBA forward Glenn Big Baby Davis, sentenced by a federal judge today to 40 months in prison plus 3 years supervised release for his 2023 conviction in an alleged scheme to defraud the NBA's league benefits plan.
Big baby.
Whew, 40 months.
That makes me. I wonder what. Yeah. That's not great.
Man.
That's yikes. Not great, kids. Not great at all. What is great is the mailbag. You can tweet us your questions at Browns_daily. I do have a question for you, actually, Bo Bishop, before we even start. Are the festivities for Bootsy's Festivus for the rest of us, like, are we good weather-wise? Not so great.
It's going to be brutal
No, it's going to be terrible.
It's going to suck. It will not at all. It will not at all hinder his joy. My dad got in last night. He's bouncing around. We got a fresh haircut. Looks fantastic. Got a nice little glow to him from the weekend in the lacrosse. He's all tanned up, ready to go. He was flopping around like a fish in the pool last night, living his best life. No, I think he's ready to thrive. He is not one who hides from the spotlight. In fact, the spotlight naturally finds him. So I think this will only be a great moment and weekend for him, despite there not being the orb in the sky.
I love that.
I just wondered how it was going to impact your party planning.
No, we're good. We're at the club, so we were indoors anyway.
Okay,
so it was
perfect.
fine.
I wasn't sure. Like, we're going through the Mother's Day discussion now because we have to host.
Well, and
I'm like, my wife's determined to do it outside. I'm like, honey, it's going to require a jacket. There's no rain, but it's in the 60s.
Where are we? I mean, because this thing keeps changing on me.
I know.
It's changed a lot. So it was supposed to be, all right, so today sucks. Tomorrow is mostly going to suck. Then it's kind of cool, really cool. Oh, Saturday's going to really suck. Saturday's really bad. Thick cloud cover, showers, small
thunderstorms.
hail.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Got some
Lord.
weather.
That doesn't sound like golf weather.
No. Sunday,
upper
high 60s.
Yeah.
So you're back in the mix.
For Mother's Day.
Yeah, that's nice. And then Monday's okay by the time you get back into the week. But
yeah, but then it looks like
then you're good.
Tuesday, Wednesday.
But what sucks is like it's been great for, really 3 weeks. It's been really good. And then this stretch is bad. This 4 or 5 days here.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's get it going here at Browns_daily. This is Cleveland is the reason. Have you guys seen Uncle Baby Billy and anything else like Fallout or Invincible on Amazon Prime?
He's unbelievable and justified. Unbelievable and justified. Probably a top 5 character ever in Justified. He's unbelievable. So he's in that, and he was in that before he was Uncle Baby Billy. He's really good in The Shield, which is a long ago FX show. He's very good in that. Let me think.
Am I just gonna be wanting him? Like, if I were to watch Justified, I know he's the big bad, opposite Timothy Olyphant, right? Am I gonna just want him to be Uncle Baby Billy?
I mean, the charisma is there in in Justified.
Okay.
Like it's a serious show. Like so he's not, singing out of a seashell at a fictional Bible.
Well, that was
resort.
that was a poor use of his talents.
It really was. It seemed like he had a good life. He was complaining. That seemed like it was a pretty good setup.
Actually, it was a pretty good setup for him.
He was in a suite. He was in the Bahamas
with all inclusive,
all that you need.
Yeah.
The only thing he had to sing at the pool, and I guess maybe that was demeaning to him. But
embarrassing.
Other than that,
I'm an international superstar now.
Come on now.
Come on now.
So he was also he was in Vice Principals with
Yes.
Danny McBride.
But that didn't land, right? I never
it
watched
got
it.
too serious. It was like the first season of Gemstones that got like dark. It just got dark.
Yeah.
And it didn't need to.
McBride, he must like dark.
I think he likes taking you to some place you didn't think you were going to go.
Kenny Powers has some darkness to it.
Very, yeah.
The End has some darkness to it.
Yep, yeah.
Pineapple Express has some darkness to
Sure.
it.
Yep, yeah. He's unbelievable. And if you haven't seen Justified, it's awesome.
By the way, Bobby's bringing a heater again. Love it.
Mr. Camtastic. Have either of you gentlemen seen The Expanse on Prime Video? I think it's right up your alleys.
No.
I never even heard of it.
Never heard of it either. The Expanse.
I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but I'm going down the road anyways, because why not? Not Pedro is like Tyrion Lannister.
Tyrion Lannister.
He tells Littlefinger he's marrying Sansa to the Vale.
So if Pedro were in Game of Thrones, I think he would be. I mean, he's not.
He's not Tywin.
Of course not. I'm not saying he's this type of a human, but kind of the outsized sense of power. Little Walder Frey.
Walder Frey. I'd say even Robert Baratheon.
He's got control of this, and he's got this area where he's got a lot of power in this area.
Yeah.
And everyone, I'm not none of the rest of the stuff with Frey, but just from the standpoint of like in his world. And by the way, my dad would be in there too. He'd be in that mix.
He also could be like Ned Stark's wife, her sister, who was up at the
in the area, whatever that is.
Yeah. Pretty. One set of rules.
One set of rules.
I'm in charge.
Really remote.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's.
I want to watch the little man fly.
Jeez.
No, we're not going to do that.
We're not going to do that. I don't think.
No.
Yeah.
Preston with a question. He's got two questions. Who do you think won the Kendrick Lamar versus Drake rap beef?
I don't have any idea.
No
No
idea.
point of reference.
So I can't. Similarly, nope. I did do some reading on this because I was just seeing so much about it, so I had somebody really break it down. And I think the consensus right now is that Drake has been beaten badly.
Okay.
All right.
Kendrick Lamar has won the beef, although I think it took like a fairly serious turn. Supposedly one of Drake's bodyguards got shot outside of his house.
Okay, well that's just
What was the beef about? What's their beef about? Usually a
Just
chick.
a bunch of disses, rap disses back and forth.
All right.
all right. Bonus question then. Describe your way of cooking your favorite cut of beef.
Prime rib. And it can be sous vide and then finished in the oven. It can be roasted. It can be smoked. It could be a lot of things.
Yeah, I'm a ribeye guy. I love a prime rib as well, but I'm a ribeye would be my favorite cut. I don't do this often because it's labor intensive because I'm always cooking for a family. But if you can do it cast iron with butter and rosemary and garlic, and you just spoon it, and you can get a nice crisp crust on it.
It's all about the crust.
That's the whole operation. But it's hard to do with a bunch of people. Like even if you're sous vide, it's busy work.
Sure.
There's
It is a busy
oil
work.
everywhere. It's a mess. Like it's smoky. Like, but that's about as good as
Man, this expanses. This is 6 seasons. Science fiction television series for 6 seasons.
Kyle Benner
95% Rotten Tomatoes.
tweets the show.
Not bad.
After watching Curb,
Yes.
do you think you become more like LD, or has LD's wisdom just shone a light on what was always there? While on my first watch, though, I'm struggling to find out for myself. It's a deep question.
Well, I think as you get older, you get more set in the things that you like and your ways, and then
Yes.
with age usually comes a certain modicum of success, and then with that comes the ability to kind of pick and choose what you want. And so I think, yeah, I mean, I've always kind of been pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
So
I think that LD has great wisdom at times. He doesn't maybe deliver it always in the proper way, but I think a lot of things that he says has a great deal of merit. So, and then to your point, as you kind of get older, you become the lanes you like to stay in become very clearly defined.
That's right.
Little Bobby time.
Hey, Bobby!
Is Rocky IV a sports movie or an action movie? We're going to start debating this
It's
stuff.
a romantic comedy.
I bet it doesn't say that.
It's
But I see what you did there.
yeah.
We're still smarting from the Wedding Crashers debate of early 24.
Early 24. It's a sports movie.
Yeah, it's a boxing movie.
Yeah, it's a sport. Yeah,
I mean, it's a political movie.
Yeah.
It's a propaganda movie for its time and place.
for our age. It is the definitive Rocky, I think.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
if you're older than us, then people will say that is it Rocky 3 with Mr. T?
Thunder Lips.
Yeah, with
Hogan.
Hogan.
Yeah.
Most people that will say
Clubber
that
Lang.
Rocky 3 is like the best one.
Yeah.
Rocky
4.
1's tough on a rewatch. It takes forever.
Yes.
And it's bleak. 2 is basically just a redo of 1. 4 for us, though, for our age, that's the defining Rocky.
4
for
is
sure.
great.
Yeah.
Ivan Drago, Brigitte Nielsen.
There's like 6 music montages.
yes, a lot of
No,
training
it's-
montages.
Yeah. No, it's great.
I'd actually like to rewatch that.
There's no damn reason for him to not take money to go to Russia and fight. Like, he's the heavyweight champion of the world, and he decides to get rid of his belt, take no money to go to Russia and fight to get revenge for the murder of his buddy.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't happen.
It's stupid.
Why?
Never do
Why? That's just an unnecessary part of it. Just be like the best versus the best.
Yeah.
This is USA versus
Right.
USSR.
Correct. Yeah. Why do I have to not make money?
Why can't I make money?
Silly.
You trained in Siberia. You had to be
did.
doing something.
Who is your all-time favorite Disney character?
Oh, easy. King Louis. Jungle Book. Love
Wow.
King Louis. Big King Louis guy.
Wow.
Love that guy.
You just rattled that off
fantastic.
like it was nothing.
So, yeah, we saw him. We checked into Disney last year. He was in the lobby when we checked in.
King
That's
Louis.
a
I
sign.
never saw him again. That's my guy.
It's a good question.
You mean like? I'm sure you mean like animated. I'm guessing is what Bobby means.
I'm going to
Yeah.
go with that.
I liked. I did enjoy when they did Robin Hood, when they kind of
Oh,
did Robin Hood.
fantastic.
Robin was great, but also the Sheriff of Nottingham was pretty great.
He was great.
And Hiss.
Hiss. That's a great one.
It's a good movie.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Yep. That was one that was omnipresent in my youth.
Oh yeah, I love
Was
that.
that?
one.
Yeah. They haven't done a good Robin Hood in a long time.
No,
Been a lot of swings at it.
the TV show that was
I remember
on
you put me
Showtime.
on it.
Oh man, that's so good.
Yeah.
What are things you're too old to do but you still enjoy? It's a loaded
I don't think there's
question.
anything that I'm too old to do that I still enjoy. I think everything. Is there anything that you did in your youth that you?
I don't really play competitive basketball anymore.
That's what I was.
There's a good one.
Yeah.
I love hoops.
So do I, but
It's not worth it.
you know what I was thinking about? I was talking with my
Juice
dad
isn't
about
worth
this.
the squeeze.
I'm not sure of two things. Number one, I'm not sure the last time I shot a basketball.
Oh, that's sad.
That's
been a
very
while.
sad.
It's been a while. And then the other would be, I'm not sure. I think we could be over 12 years the last time that I played in a 5-on-5 real setting.
Like a real game.
Yeah. 5-on-5.
Well, it's hard to see. Even like when I was, even in the last couple of years, if I've played pickup, usually a lot of times it's like 4-on-4 or something like that. Like,
But
you
you've
get,
played
like-
some pickup with
Yeah.
other adults.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
in the
it's been-
last 2 or 3 years for sure. And then we always, I mean, I play with the kids all the time.
Well,
When
right.
we play 2-on-2, or
Yeah.
we always do the father-son games and all that stuff. So we play that way. But yeah, like competitive, probably been 2 or 3 years, 5-on-5. Here's the thing you don't realize is when you haven't done that in a long time, what you forget is all of the quick twitch muscles that you need for that sport.
Yeah.
And so then all of a sudden, when you haven't used those quick twitch muscles in years and you do it, like I could hardly get out of bed the next day.
Yeah.
I did an ice bath because I couldn't even move
Yeah.
because it was like when you it's like going 0 to 100. Like you, all of a sudden, all these muscles that haven't been used, you forget how much of that you need.
I know. I'm noticing some of that in my secret trainings.
Oh, I bet you are noticing some of that.
I was sore
I
in a
bet.
portion of my leg that I didn't know I had muscle or could possibly be sore.
I believe that, 100%.
What movie title best describes your life?
The Distinguished Gentleman.
I like that.
It's a sneaky good movie.
It is.
Eddie Murphy
Yeah.
runs for Congress. There's a long-serving,
Hey, Kelpie's his name.
James Garner's a long-serving senator in Florida.
Yeah.
He dies. Eddie Murphy's his name is Jeff Johnson. One of my good buddies back in Tallahassee's name was Jeff Johnson. Eddie Murphy is Jeff Johnson. He runs as Jeff Johnson. His tagline is "the name you know."
Yeah.
So anytime we'd see my buddy Jeff Johnson, we'd be like, "Jeff Johnson, the name you know."
Well, it took him
You
all the
dropped
way.
a Jack Johnson today, a Jeff
Johnson, distinguished gentleman.
Got it.
Yeah, that's a fun Eddie Murphy
I like.
movie. Yeah.
I just like Last of the Mohicans. I think it's a cool title. That was,
Oh
that was
my
the Last of the
God.
Mohicans running around
You
here.
just won't.
Just you in the waterfalls.
Yeah, me and Chingachgook.
In honor of Teacher Appreciation Week, who was your favorite teacher growing up and why?
I had two. Mr. Trammer, who was my football coach, history teacher, gym teacher, all in one, who's a legend. And then Miss Stone, who was my English teacher.
So I'd say from my youth, I'm talking K through 4, Miss Rousseau. And then from high school on, Mr. Sheets was the man. I had a lot of them. Mr. Sheets, Mr. Wilder, Mr. Morneau.
Yeah.
Moreau had some good teachers. They were a lot of fun.
It's cool when and Mr. Rock was another good one who was good for me. The impact that those people had on your life.
Well, that's like for my dad.
Yeah.
Lots of times we were with him. We run somebody that was a student
Yeah.
those many years ago, and
Yeah.
he's like married. He has not married. He's officiated the weddings of multiple of his students.
Yeah.
Yeah, you make good teachers make a big impact. That's
Huge.
why maybe they should maybe make a little more
Make a
money.
little more, maybe.
Yeah, it's
Way
kind
that
of an
on the
important thing for the youth.
It is. So much more to come. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
Serene Spark
You're down.
Safe. These
Hello?
Hello? Hello?
You're up.
Hello?
I can hear you. Now you turn your
Hello?
mic off. Now you're back.
Hello? I hear nothing.
Nope. Turn your mic back on.
Hello?
Yeah?
I hear nothing.
I don't hear you in my ear. I hear me in my ear.
I hear you. I don't hear me.
I don't
I can hear you through the speaker.
Can you hear me, Nick?
Nick, can
yeah,
you
I
hear
got
him?
you guys.
All
You
right.
have Z
Can you hear
and me
Bo?
or just Z?
Yes, Bo is up. We have 30.
I hear nothing.
All right. But you're on. It'd be nice if you had a light, and you wouldn't have to worry about
You're
it.
on.
All right. I'll take your word for it.
I only hear you through
Through
You.
our talking.
Yeah.
That's how I am too, yeah.
because you're a
All right.
human.
So I'm going to take everybody's word that we're on the air.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
tell you that the next level's next. And we'll be back tomorrow
We
on
will.
the program. Thanks for listening, buddy. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.